right, so today my guest is Frank Yang. I'm super excited about this conversation. Frank is a YouTuber who makes videos about non-duality, enlightenment, awakening, meditation, everything in between. His YouTube videos are amazing. Like his filmmaking and his editing is one of a kind. I love it. Frank used to be like a fitness YouTuber and doing like online, what would you call it, pranks and like all this crazy shit online. And then he got into the meditation path and went pretty fucking deep. So uh, yeah, thanks so much for joining, Frank. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome.
So yeah, so actually funny because I'm editing a video right now and I'm talking about burning karmas. So I'm talking about how if you don't resist the process of like burning karmas, if you burn some karmas right now, you're actually going back in time and burning the old karmas and the future
Right, right.
because all time simultaneously. So I was digging up old footage of me eating because I was talking about eating karma. So like there's some footage of
Okay.
me eating like in high school, like eating. And then I was like just literally just watching like old videotapes, like VHS tapes. Well, it's converted now to MP4 file, but just prank videos I did in high school. I was like 14 years old.
I saw it on your
So I
Instagram now, like the one you falling down
oh yeah, yeah.
the
I
stairs.
was literally just like editing, organizing on this, but it just before I came out of the call.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that. I was gonna ask if that was you. Like I saw the one with the guy falling down. So that was you.
yeah. Is it me? I don't know. We can talk about it. It's neither me or not me.
Good start. I like it.
Yeah,
Uh,
so yeah, I've been doing this for a while. Just filming my life and expressing myself since as long as I can remember. Yeah.
mm.
And whatever I'm doing right now, like you said, all the editing, talking about spirituality before that fitness is just an extension of my function, I guess
Mm,
you can say.
mm,
Yeah. Instead of looking at it as like an identity now, it's more like a function that just arises.
mm.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. So I thought we could start by maybe talking a little bit about, I won't, maybe lots of people have asked you about like how did the spiritual path begin and where did it go? So maybe we can dive into some of the later stuff. But just how long would you say you have been meditating for? Like when did that start time-wise, relatively?
Since 2013, yeah.
Okay.
2013. I did it course. Yeah, I started with doing TM and then a couple of years after that, I did my first Vipassana course.
Okay. Nice.
What year is this right now? 2024? Yeah, so
2024, yeah. So like
yeah,
10 years, 10, 11 years, yeah.
still meditating. Yeah, yeah, still meditating.
Yeah, nice. So what would you say you're exploring currently, right? Because I've been watching a lot of your videos recently and and on your Instagram as well, you've been talking a lot about kind of the post-Anatta, how things go.
Post-Anatta path. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really
I'm
curious
still
to talk
learning
about
about the
that.
new path that I'm on, so I can talk about it, but it's basically kind of switching vehicle, you can say like that, from sort of like the Theravada
Mm,
arhatship kind of view to more like a Vajrayana Dzogchen and Bodhisattva kind of vehicle.
mm.
And I realized that I've been doing this my whole life. Actually, I just thought I was on the Theravada path, but I wasn't actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because the only thing that I knew about Buddhism really was from the pragmatic Dharma circles, like Daniel Ingram and Ken
Yeah.
Folk, Christian Young, and Shuddha people like that. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, they're more or less coming from the Theravada vehicle. And Daniel Ingram did a really amazing thing of like, trying to remodel the Theravada four-part model to kind of like fit the modern mind. And
Mm,
has its limitation, but it also like helped a lot of people, help myself. Um,
mm.
we can get into what that is, but then the point is the only resource that I had before about Buddhism was really from the Theravada vehicle, and it was a filter through the lens of modernity, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from the perspective of the OG, like OG Theravada Buddhism kind of perspective, the anatta realization is actually just the beginning. Or if
Mm,
you look at Bodhisattva vehicle, the anatta realization is just the first bhumis out of like 10 plus bhumis to
mm.
reach full Buddhahood, so to speak. And
Okay.
Arahant would be like seventh or eighth boon. Yeah, we're
Okay.
talking about the old. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So where
And
have
And part of the thing that we're trying to do with my group,
yeah.
I'm learning a lot from my group and the coach that I currently have. He's coming more. Well, see, I don't want to discriminate against Theravada or anything like that because it's a foundation for,
Mm,
Mahayana, second turning of the real Dharma, the first being, Theravada, like the OG, like, um, kind of the Vipassana kind of route, right? Or
mm.
oscillation kind of route. And then after Mahayana, which is the second point or the second turning, you have the third turning, which is Vajrayana or Dzogchen.
Mm.
And it was so the first turning was you can associate the first turning with the OG Buddha, right?
Right.
He's like the Michael Jordan of consciousness, I call him that. And then the
Yeah.
second turning, like Nibbana, like you
Okay.
really go emptiness of self and emptiness of other from the
Mm,
really philosophical and sort of deconstructive kind of view. But that's just one view. The other side of Mahayana focuses a lot on like compassion, things like that. But
mm,
before this, I was studying a lot of like Nikujuna and things like that. And he's like the Kobe Bryant of consciousness. That's his second
mm,
turning. And the third turning is, I guess, made popular by Papa Sambhava,
mm.
Guru Rinpoche. That's like the Steph Curry of consciousness, the way I call him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things just progressively gets more out there, more like out of the box, more like esoteric, more
Can you
like
talk?
customize your own awakening instead of like just following the Theravada stuff, like step by step. Oh, here's your
Yeah.
path. What you can do, this is what you can't do, and everything's from the book.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of the progression of the history of Dharma. And then in a sense, that kind of is also the progression of my own individual path as well. And
Mm,
with the Bodhisattva path, you kind of flip yourself, or like what I talked about flipping yourself inside out before, but it's more like flipping your realization inside out.
mm,
Um, benefit all sentient beings instead of just being a solo realizer or checking to the monastery or staying in a
mm,
cave. Not saying all like people that follow the Theravada path are like cave dwellers or anything like that, but their particular view is the one of the solo realizer. And I thought I was a solo realizer all along, but actually the way that my life unfolds since the very beginning has always been kind of like from the Bodhisattva vehicle, so to speak.
Okay. So what would you say has so firstly, do you have a like a teacher now then or like a someone that's pointing you on this
Yeah,
path you mentioned?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. Yeah.
Is that someone from the like Dzogchen tradition or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. He's immersed. He actually teaches at a Mahayana. No, he teaches Mana. He's a he's very interesting. He's like a Mahayana coach, guest
Okay.
coach at Theravada Monastery.
Okay. Okay. So he's at a Theravada
Yeah. So
monastery.
he's a little bit like a human mixtape, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
But the stuff that he's teaching us right now, it's all of them. But then we're also doing a lot of preliminary work in order to receive some tantric transmissions, more or
Mm,
less from the Vajrayana vehicle. But then, of course, we still do a lot of work or training that is more in line with the first and the second turning of the real
mm,
Dharma. So it's a little bit. That's why our group is called contemplative CrossFit. Yeah,
mm. Yeah, I like that name. So
yeah.
so what would you say your practice is now when you're doing these boot camp trainings?
We focus a lot on Samaya, which is like our Sangha. Like
Okay.
now, like it's not really about your individualization anymore. It's about the realization of the entire Sangha and ultimately
Mm,
also right? So we focus a lot on how to maintain a Sangha, how to maintain a Samaya. So when we receive the transmission, it's like we're all collectively building like a mandala or a quote unquote Buddha field.
mm,
Yeah, so one person's insight or breakthrough will seep over to the other people, and then we continuously, progressively make this mandala more refined and aesthetic and powerful, so to speak,
mm,
and then access that anytime. But then, of course, that's just a particular routing to your own nature, so to speak.
mm.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's yeah, okay. So it's more of like a group consciousness effect
Like
than
yeah. That's a lot of things that we're learning, especially me, because like I've been doing this thing sort of by myself my whole life, really. Just
yeah,
so
yeah.
Like my path is kind of like a solo realizer, but if you look at the way I live my life, it's not really that because I
Mm,
don't really want to like check into the monastery. I'm not really doing the whole renunciation thing. That's why like if your view is only coming from the Theravada perspective, you can really create a sort of like split in your psyche, so to speak. And that's
mm,
happening to not like myself, or at least like more so like in during certain periods of integration, so to speak. But
mm,
I see a
mm.
lot of people after realizing anatta, they seem to be quite confused some of the time
Yeah,
about what to
yeah,
do. Right. They have trouble integrating their realization in modern society.
yeah, yeah. I can relate to
That's
that.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. So like they have a few options. Either they check in the monastery or they get supported by, people that are supporting the monastery and things like that.
Yeah,
Or they go see a therapist. That's what a lot of people do. They just do like, okay, now what am I going to do now? Let's go do some shadow work.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then how about people I know that reach anatta are actually seeing therapists. And you see people
yeah.
coming up on YouTube, it's like, oh, I have this anatta realization. And now I'm just doing a lot of like shadow work. I'm seeing a therapist and things like that. Or they can just quote unquote integrate forever, which is kind of like my path before. I was like, okay, this is sort of like the end point from only a certain axiom of development,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And what do? I'm just gonna live my life, make my videos, and like integrate for the rest of my life. But then
mm.
that's not really, well, in a way, that is a path, but it's a path without direction, so to speak.
Right, right.
What I realize is that there is actually a path beyond anatta.
Mm,
Like, yes, I've realized anatta for like 4.5 years now, I believe, and my realization has gone way further than anatta initially. But then there's
mm,
still, from this point on to what they call completion or full Buddhahood, there's still training to be done, so to speak.
mm. Yeah, I'm curious. Can we talk a little bit more about that? Because I'm thinking back to like
Yeah, we're
your.
still kind of like doing some really basic training right now, actually.
Okay.
Well, we have 13 people in our last boot camp, in our last cohort, and three people realized anatta during the boot camp, like a 12-week boot camp, which is pretty amazing, actually, because
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
consider anatta to be like the holy grail or the end of the spiritual path from the perspective of most modern Dharma practitioners, it's actually quite magical that we have three people that reach anatta.
yeah.
Three of us is already reached anatta.
Okay.
So it's a little mixture of everything, and the training that we're doing right now is the modality is quite new to me, but then we're practicing. Even the anatta realizers are practicing along with the people that some people just started the path actually, and then we're all doing the
Mm,
same training. So
mm,
this kind of modality can apply us in the beginning, in the middle, and the end.
mm. Right,
So
right.
that's what the Buddha said, right? The right view, the right practice, right effort should be sustained, or they should prevail from beginning, middle, and end.
Mm,
So we're training kind of like I guess you can call it the meditation or contemplation or the analysis on the five aggregates. Yeah, and then the other side of that coin is practicing through sort of like the three elements of earth,
mm.
water, and air. Yeah.
Okay. And
So those are the
can you explain
two
what
of
the
the
f
three modalities that we're practicing with right now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I'm curious, what was your personal experience like since Anatta? Like any significant shifts that you can
Yeah,
talk about?
I wouldn't call them shifts. They're shifts more on, I guess you can call it the conventional level, but on the
Mm,
ultimate level, the anatta realization stays the same regardless. It deepens.
right, right.
And the deepening of anatta, I think, goes beyond the quantification of causality, cause and effect, or maps or stages.
Mm,
So
mm,
it's really hard to quantify the deepening. Because
mm,
everything about anatta is sort of like you're still within this linear time and space modality of like, cause and conditioning, cause and effect. They're not saying there is no more cause and effect, but now um, you're sort of operating on a plane where it's beyond, where it's kind of like non-temporal and non-spatial and non-causal, but it still
mm,
includes linear cause and effect and cause and condition on that conventional level.
Okay.
The way that I would categorize a shift or how you deepen, go from stage to stage, from jhana to jhana, I don't really quantify it like that anymore. But I would
Mm,
say that deepening is profound beyond that, beyond quantification of like stages and insights and like things like that. Yeah.
okay. Would you say you experienced any more like dark night periods after Anatta?
Oh,
Like
there's
any?
definitely Dark Knight, post Awakening Dark Knight for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm actually editing a video on the Dark Knight of the Soul, and this is, one part of it is explaining the difference between pre and post Awakening Dark Knight. Yeah, I would say
Okay.
the post Awakening Dark Knight is, in a sense, it's much easier to handle, and you bounce back really, really quickly.
Mm,
The cycles are a lot shorter, if you even can even call them cycles. But see, without the feeler, right, the intensity of the Dark Knight, paradoxically, is both more intense and less intense.
mm.
There's no one there to grasp onto the sort of the process of dissolution, the
Yeah.
dissolution from really, really deep karmas and the purification of some really deep conditionings that otherwise wouldn't even be perceived before anatta.
Mm.
There's no feeler, there's no one there to grasp onto this process of dissolution, and no one there to avert it. But at the same time, because there is no feeler, the sensation can be more intense.
Mm.
It also dissolve a lot quicker, so to speak. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
I, I,
to
I've met about a couple of people that got like pretty depressed after Nata. They even went through like psychotic breakdowns and things like that.
right. Yeah. I can understand that. I've felt like I'm on the
That's why I think
verge
it's a
quite
little
often.
bit, yeah, that's why I think it's a little bit problematic when you frame Anatta to be the end of the path.
Yeah, that's why I like the idea of exploring dark nights and suffering after anatta because there's so many modern teachers that talk about anatta as that's the end of suffering, right? But
Or
then
something.
and
But
then you're like, what the fuck's happening after?
actually, the way I describe it is like, yeah, you eliminate 90, I would say like 98% of your suffering, just to put a number
Mm,
around it. The 2% that can still arise, sometimes can feel like 98%.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the
But like I
deepest
said, it's both
stuff.
more intense and at the same time less intense. So it's another one
Mm,
of those weird paradoxes. But that's not to say that after Nata, you just completely eliminate your suffering. That's definitely not the case. And
mm,
that's not the case for everybody that I talked to who realized that Nata, even very accomplished teachers like adyashanti, I don't know what his experience is, but then he after Anatta, he was I think he was going through some pretty intense post-traumatic disorder about
yeah. I heard about his like
back pain.
chronic
That's why he retired and things like that,
yeah, his
right?
chronic pain stuff. Yeah.
Chronic pain and stuff like that, and then that eventually turned to PTSD, which is like,
Yeah.
you're like, but then at the same time, you also become more accepting of just like suffering in general.
Mm,
To be honest, I don't really, I've never really approached this path from the lens of like eliminating suffering. That's just a byproduct for me. For me, it's
mm,
always meditating to see the beauty of things, to for connections, and just to really increase the capacity of my mind and my body, so to speak. Um,
mm.
I guess you say like I meditate mostly for aesthetic reasons, but they're not exclusive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard you say that
Nice.
before, that the path's always been about aesthetics for you, and
Yeah,
then the rest was
yeah,
a byproduct.
yeah. And then the sort of the Vajrayana path is more about the aesthetics, really. If you look at the art, it's like really trippy, right? They're
Mm.
more about exploring the potentiality or the potential of what it means to be a complete human being and beyond.
Mm.
Like train and develop capacities and capabilities that are not just yogically, but like intellectually, philosophically, creatively, or artistically. A lot of those Vajrayana, like Dzogchen masters, are like artists and
Mm.
poets and writers and things like that. So they're more about the holistic, development of a human being and beyond.
Mm.
So like I was like, I've been doing that my whole life, right? My whole life it's all about like transcending and creating this like Renaissance man prototype, so to speak.
Mm.
And I
So
was like,
that's what fits
this
in. Yeah.
yeah, and from the Theravada vehicle, it's more like, okay, the end of suffering. That's it.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You don't get to express your personality
Yeah.
because they want to empty all that out. And
Yeah.
From the Vajrayana lens, emotion, expressiveness is the path.
Mm.
There's nothing that's not the path. So it's really hard to create a dogma out of Vajrayana because for them, the bad is also the good, right? And then you're
Mm.
trying to, instead of like making it a goal to completely eliminate or dissolve all your conditionings. You're working with the afflictions by turning all the afflictions on their heads and then transmutate them, expressing them into workable
Mm.
energy,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
express artistically or yogically or for the sake of other sentient beings and so on.
Mm. So what's some of the more esoteric stuff you've been exploring since Anatta? Is there anything like
Yeah, there's some experiences just by doing the meditation on the boot camp, but I don't really make that into my goal. So that's the thing. It's
mm,
like for a lot of the practices, for a lot of like tantric practices, you actually need anatta. It's not like you need it, but like you can start
mm,
out with that. But if you don't have the anatta realization as sort of this uh, prerequisite, it's easy to verify some esoteric experiences or even like yogic experiences, even the
mm,
jhanas, or you can verify deities as to be
yeah,
like the
yeah.
self. You can verify, yeah, just a bunch of things that you can really run into the danger of verifying if you don't see through the emptiness of self and others and of the
Mm,
world. Yeah, I've experienced things like meditating, doing like yoga nidra in my room, and then leaving my body, walking around my room through my emanation body while I was still conscious that the fact that I was still on my bed,
mm,
meditating, just walking around my house and trying to like open the door to go outside, but I couldn't do it. I guess because I don't know, I don't know the mechanism of it,
yeah.
but
It's like
I don't know
astral
the mechanics of it.
projection
Yeah,
kind
a
of
little bit
thing.
of astral projection. Yeah, yeah. Um, and also like transporting myself, not myself, but my I guess you can call it my emanation body,
Mm,
to another realm or another dimension that's like stacked on top of this one. Because
right.
all that is actually stacked on top of each other in a singularity, so to speak.
Mm.
And I was like, hanging out with my friend,
He,
from another version of ourselves.
so he was also there
He
from
was
this
there in another, no, he's also from this realm.
from
Yeah.
this realm in that
But yeah,
realm as
those
well.
experiences didn't feel like dreams, but at the same time, the
Yeah.
difference between reality, astral planes, it's,
Yeah.
to me, there's really no distinction once you recognize the emptiness of all phenomenons, right? That's another thing. If you don't have that entire realization, you can really verify these other worldly realms as being
Mm,
more desirable or more real or less real than this one. The training is about seeing and understanding the five aggregates and see how the aggregates construct our reality moment to moment, construct our mind, our identities, the sort of like it creates a certain type of geometry of
mm,
our embodiment, so to speak, right? And this right here, what we for most people assume to be the quote unquote base reality, is just one of these geometries, one way that the aggregations come together to form, your conventional reality. But
mm.
even after realization, you can still verify this to be the only reality. Actually, you can see through
Yeah.
everything to be light, to be luminous and holographic, without a cell, without a center. But then at the deeper level of the view, so to speak, you still think like the isness, so to speak. Oh, there's only the present moment, so to speak.
Mm,
Let's
mm,
verify this to be like the ground, like the physical reality, but there is no base reality, right? A
mm,
couple of people that I talked to that after another realization, they tend to kind of re-verify their physical reality.
mm.
It's like, oh, now I'm just a monkey now, like pooping on a rock, things like that, and then the
Yeah,
floor is
yeah.
really like that. But that's just one particular geometry of being, right?
Yeah.
You close your mind off to the possibility of other type of aggregation or geometry, then
Mm,
your progress will stall. But that's not everyone's goal, right?
mm.
I guess I don't really have a goal in terms of like a realization anymore, but it just keeps on rolling,
Yeah, you
right?
can't really stop it.
Yeah, you can't really stop it. But then I just got myself in a situation where this is my path right now, and I'm
Right.
perfectly happy with where I am right now.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
actually 8% of the time I'm like just super content and super blissful. And not
mm,
energetic. I'm just sitting here and everything is perfect. But then that doesn't mean that you can't practice and you can't practice diligently.
mm.
A lot of people also verify anatta as being this thing where you're not supposed to practice afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
Because a lot of like non-dual teachers say that there's nothing to do and there's no one here. But that's
Mm,
just kind of like a view, and we could talk about some of the views that actually come with a realization that solidifies after the realization that people just don't question because they think that, oh,
mm,
realization is like the end of all end, and then you can't go wrong with the realization. Another one is
mm.
like um, vilifying the conceptual mind or concepts and just to kind of stop learning, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Concept is bad, I shouldn't think. Yeah, and I just started. I used to read a lot of philosophy actually before the spiritual
Mm,
path, and part of our boot camp is having a book club actually. So we're actually studying the works from like previous masters, where you kind of have to read this text from your third eye, so to speak. You're receiving direct
mm,
mind-to-mind transmission from these old masters.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so you can
I saw you
read it
making
with yeah, you can't really read those texts with your conceptual mind. You have to read it with
yeah,
your
yeah.
entire being purposes, so to speak. Yeah.
But not closing off the conceptual mind is what makes that available. Because I liked what you'd said recently about that kind of non-dual vilifying of concepts, which you see a lot of online. But I really resonated with what you said about um yeah, that's just another view, really. Like there's a lot more to be explored. Um just
I mean, you
yeah.
don't have to record it. Yeah, but then,
Yeah, but it's there,
yeah.
yeah.
The moment you close your mind off to the impossible,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
the
I like
moment
what you were saying
you
about different
soul.
realms and worlds as well, because it's like,
Yeah.
it's not like it's any more or less real than this one, but the fact that they're there, many around anatta and non-duality would deny, or would like not be open to that. So it's like I like it when people talk about it as well, because it just makes it more, I don't know, like more open for discussion and like understanding.
If you really have, they see, you gotta continue to refine even the view, even the ultimate view
Mm,
of no view, the
mm,
liberating view of realization of anatta can still be refined. And some
mm,
of these philosophical texts I'm reading can really help refine them, right? So once you refine the views, and then once you really, especially the view of the middle way and dependent origination,
mm.
things are there, but at the same time, they're not there. But once you say things aren't there at all,
Yeah.
then you're verifying emptiness. You're verifying the view of non-existence. Or you
Mm,
can verify the view of existence, which is sort of like the Brahmic or the God consciousness, eternalism kind of view. And the
mm.
other side of that, nihilism kind of view. Like everything's empty, there's,
Yeah, yeah.
everything's yeah. So once you start really to refine your views, and you can really see through how, even after anatta, your mind can still have obscurations.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, even the more non-dual view of like, oh, both existence and non-existence, or neither existence and non-existence are still extreme views, because there are
Right,
four
right.
extreme. Yeah, so it gets really refined.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I saw some of I think who's it? Nagarjuna's stuff that you were sharing
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah.
recently about the four versions of that.
Because for a while I was like, yeah, it's not existence, it's not non-existence, it's not being, it's not non-being, it's neither being or non-being. So I'll go around in all my videos saying it's neither this nor that.
Yeah, and then
But
you
that's
found
the view. Yeah,
another
yeah. Or
view.
like it's both non-being and being. But then that's another view. It's not like you can't have these views. All views are serve a function, right? Like just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fact that I'm sitting here doing a podcast, using like Zoom, I'm having a microphone here. All these are layers after layers of views and mini making systems.
Mm,
So a lot of it is unconscious. Right? A lot of it, just goes on and examined.
mm,
Something that's taken for granted, or as simple as like walking to the bathroom and taking a dump,
mm,
that requires layers and layers of mini making system right there.
mm.
Right.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
can start to construct these views, and a wall is not just a wall anymore, right?
Mm,
I'm not just sitting here in a room doing a podcast,
mm.
right? Once you started to construct even some of your really gross level conventional reality views that dictate your conventional reality, then you're not just sitting in a room anymore. You're swimming in suchness.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Then that's the space where you can hold all views simultaneously.
yeah, yeah.
All partial views are as good as any other partial views, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because reality without the filters is omniscient, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw you sharing recently how not many teachers are talking about the post-Anatta path, or many see that as the end. What do you think of? You've met Angelo, Dilullo. I love Angelo's
I
stuff.
love Angelo. Yeah.
Yeah, I like. I know it's always difficult to comment on other people's experiences, but what is your kind of perspective on how what he shares, how deep it goes?
I think Angela is I think he's one of the only one that does talk about Post-Anatta, actually. But
Mm,
I don't think he framed it around like lineages or
yeah, yeah, no, he doesn't. Yeah.
like that. I don't think so. He doesn't frame it around that. He doesn't really talk about the esoteric stuff. But like I asked him if he believes in reincarnation. He said his experiences with reincarnation. He just tend to not talk about it. But that's his
Yeah.
quote unquote brand. Because for most people that watch this channel probably are still trying to get to the I amness, trying to get to the
Yeah.
first glimpse of awakening, which is like unbounded consciousness, or
Mm.
what I call.
Yeah, that's what I've always felt with
Yeah. So
yeah,
for most people, it's just really not going to help them to talk
yeah,
about the things that I'm talking about right now, right?
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
for him, I think he does go into post-anatta integration, things like that. But you also have to consider the fact that Angelo, after anatta realization, he didn't speak about it for like 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
who knows what went on there, right? He probably deep into a point where it's probably stabilized enough for him to like talk about these things in front of like thousands of people, like in
yeah.
retreats, that without becoming destabilized. Because that's another thing that really fucks with people. It's like they even after another realization, they come out and speak about it too soon, and then
Mm.
all these projections on the people, especially if they're still coming from a very limited view of the renunciative path and things like that. They're still like, wait, this is not what my life is about. And then all these people are projecting whatever their views are about realization onto me, and then like that can
Mm.
really uh, a sense of discontent, or it can really like slow your progress, so to speak, because you constantly have to deal with people that are projecting their what they think a realization should look like.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and vice versa. You're trying to conform into the conventional view of what the realization looks like. And it's not like people's fault because, like I said, they just don't have enough resources
Yeah,
to
yeah.
recontextualize a realization.
Mm.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's what I love. I feel like you've played a big role in that. Like I was speaking with somebody else who's post-Anatta the other day, and we were talking about like your kind of eccentric expression is such a great um like yeah, kind of pushback to people that try to project um that
But other than
role.
people don't project, the people still project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But
you're
I guess my audience are pretty open-minded. Like they just,
yeah.
I can always kind of like get away with it because of my art. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
art.
yeah. You can flow on it. Yeah.
You know how I said art is what you can get away with. And
Yeah.
then the way I package like realization and the progress or the process of my own documentation of spirituality and mixing it with art, it kind of allows me to have more
Yeah.
freedom, so to speak. But if you are just kind of like a talking head, like in front of the camera, where this is all
Mm,
you do, is giving out pointers or like pointing out instructions, videos after videos,
mm,
I think there's less room for maneuver, I think.
yeah.
But each person has their own way of expression. This is my way. I'm not saying that the other ways
Yeah.
are like the worst, right? Yeah.
Yeah, true. The art plays a big role. But yeah, I would say you've helped create that extra resource for people to look at how differently it can express, you know.
So that's why I say my path has always been kind of like the Vajrayana path, really.
Mm, mm.
Just like the sort of the Theravada vehicle was just not my lifestyle, and it was never my lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit about like your experience with relationships because I know that's been like a big part of your path as well, and that maybe ties in nicely with why the Vajrayana is more compatible than the Theravada, which is like more about renouncing that kind of stuff. When I know relationship has always been a big thing for you.
Did you hear about Delson Armstrong's
I saw,
renouncing?
I didn't watch. What did he actually say? I saw he'd renounced his insights or something.
Well, he
His
renounced
arhat
entertainment because he realized what I
attainments. Yeah.
realized, that there's just too many projections, and also he realizes that he wants a relationship. That's what he said.
Right.
I want to. I started to. He said he started to feel emotions again, but then whatever he said was true at the
Mm,
moment that he said it, right?
mm,
Right. When he
mm,
said that he didn't really feel an emotion or whatever, that was true for him. But then he
mm,
continued to develop, deepen, and he realizes that way. I started to feel emotions again, and either I reject those emotions because I'm still holding on to the view of the Theravada vehicle, or
mm,
I renounce that, and
mm.
then live my life and continue to teach Dharma without that limitation, without that vehicle, without that view.
Yeah, yeah,
Part of the thing that he wants to do is he wants to have a relationship. Maybe he got
yeah.
a girlfriend. Yeah, that's probably what happened. Maybe he got a girlfriend or something. And also,
Maybe.
Awaken to Reality, Saul
Yeah.
from Awaken to Reality, he recently shut down the Facebook group too. So there's been
Oh,
a lot
really?
of changes in the Dharma community.
Yeah.
And it's not like just happening to like me and my group. It's happening all across the Dharma world. And it's happening across the world, right? With like
Yeah.
AI and like UFO sightings. And I think even Dawson made a prediction about like in 2025 or 2026, there's gonna be like a massive unveiling of the collective consciousness. And I don't know what that
Mm,
is, just judging the way that the sort of the trajectory of the world. It's
Yeah.
something, right? The fact that so many people are getting into awakening non-duality, and
Yeah, there's definitely
more
some
people are going to
like
wake up, and more people are going to commit suicide, quote unquote. Maybe
yeah, yeah.
literally, yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're going to like go cycle because they don't have the context to kind of ground their realization.
Yeah.
And so, like the modern vehicle of social media and like YouTube and capitalism
Mm.
isn't the best paradigm to ground anatta realization. So what do you do?
Yeah. It's all just
So
gonna
that's
come
gonna
out
be a
into
huge
the
topic.
open. Yeah.
That's gonna be a huge topic, right?
Yeah.
In sort of like from this point on, so to speak, and people are already talking about it. Right?
Mm.
People like myself, even people like Delson are making gestures.
Mm. Yeah,
Right.
I
So both on
completely agree.
the Facebook group to awaken to
Yeah.
reality. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I've had a similar experience myself with the kind of shifting more from like the pure, I was never so much in like Theravada or like a Buddhist style tradition, more Angelo's kind of path of just like his direct pointing. But I also came to this point of like a much more interest in an expressive, integrated experience. Yeah, and it feels like that's part of that whole shift that's going on. And it's interesting. I speak with some people that are quite into astrology, and they're had anatta realization as well. And like astrologically, with all the stuff you're talking about, like this global consciousness shift, there's like this
Yeah.
big shift.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about like the Pluto is shifting from Capricorn into Aquarius. That's
I don't know, but there's a lot of there's an
it's
infinite
all
website of the cosmic conditioning that's
yeah, yeah,
somehow
yeah,
this is a very interesting time, I would say.
yeah. So what's your experience of relationship now? Like I loved in your recent videos, like how you express that through the videos with your videos with Nicole. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like kind of how you asked Angelo, I saw that one where you asked him like what's his experience of like falling in love now, and he said it was like a sensation in the chest or something like that. What would you say your experience is? Can you still fall in love and how do you feel that?
That's a really interesting question. I think that goes in line with the sort of the limitation of view,
Yeah.
actually, because for a while after naturalization, I I don't know if I was suppressing it or bypassing it, or maybe
Mm,
that part of it just hasn't been integrated. For like a few years, I was under the impression that I couldn't feel romance again.
mm.
But then slowly I started to feel romance again, and from a very different perspective. Like Angelo said, now whatever you feel, romance or whatnot, it's kind of like just spread into space.
Yeah.
Right. As this less grasping, less identification to it. Yeah. And also when the relationship is over, you bounce back very quickly now. Before it would take me like years, months to get over a relationship. Yeah. But
Mm.
now if it ends, it takes me like a few days to get over it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then another thing is that I have no problem talking to my exes right now. Before I had this thing of like a fear of talking to my exes. Like I didn't
Okay.
keep it contact with all my exes from before awakening. But
Yeah.
now I'm actually okay to talk to like all the people that I dated before. Yeah.
And they
And
and they're open to it as well. Like
open to it as well. Yeah,
okay, yeah.
exactly. So yeah, for a while I was suppressing not just romance, but just in general emotions, right? Like I said,
Yeah.
like Rajana emotion is the path,
Hmm.
right? And I started to explore more like even kind of bringing back the artistic Frank, so to speak.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
sort of expressing myself not just from the confine of non-duality, but
mm.
still, my videos are still about awakening. But then now there's a lot more uh, human elements, so to speak.
Yeah.
Also because I think before there was a part of me that was kind of like protecting this what this realization should look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
After that's kind of like dissolved, the fact that um it's not the realization is not even a thing anymore for me. Not to say that it doesn't continue to deepen,
Mm,
but
mm,
there was a phase when I was kind of reifying anatta,
mm,
reifying
mm.
this whole thing about awakening to be like something that's special. But that happens to almost everybody actually. It's just like
Yeah, yeah.
how soon are you going to go deeper and just like see through that as well to be just more just another view, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
So all the limitation of a view that comes from awakening actually that looking back on it, that was just part of my path. That was the way for that was my training to work through that the way that
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did.
yeah.
But now
Yeah.
I found a different way to express myself
Mm.
without feeling like I need to conform to a certain protocol of what a realization should look like, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah, I can relate to it. Like that's part of the training is that expression coming out and then you
Right.
realizing that it shifts as well. But it's like if it didn't come out, then that was a part of your path. Like it's the same for me. Often I've
Uh,
spoken about this stuff online and then as afterwards I'm like, that's not quite right. But it's only because I spoke about it that that refinement can happen.
Yeah, it
Um,
also like if you keep talking about it, like you create your own echo chamber. That's what you see a lot of spiritual communities. They start to like talk trash about each other. Why is they talking trash about each other? Because the echo chamber of one community, one YouTube channel, is
yeah,
solidified a particular view. Like, oh, your particular community is all about shadow work.
yeah,
Fuck this. And the other school is like, oh, that's so empty. We're all about like direct pointing, non-dual.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's very easy to fall into one of these traps if you don't continue to refine your view, so to
Mm,
speak.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, what's been your experience with
See,
the
the continuation of the refinement of the ultimate view, with the liberty
yeah.
view, allows you to use all the other views, relative views on the partiality of the relative views, with more
Mm,
freedom, right? You can just like shape
mm.
shift views. So I can hold the romantic view if I want. I can hold the non-romantic view if I want, or even hold them simultaneously.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
there's
I can
more
hold the
space.
scientific view. Yeah, I can hold the scientific view. But if you look at like the whole paradigm of spiritualities are actually just views within views as well, right? Ultimately,
Yeah.
there is no thing of like spirituality, right? But that's if you
That's
verify
a
that
view in
view
itself.
with the
Yeah.
ultimate, then you stop progressing because they're like, oh, because before I kind of resisted, reading about Vajrayana and all that stuff. I was like, why am I reading about more spirituality? I already deconstructed spirituality,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But
it's
then
like
I was still holding
that's
on to
just
the view of no
concepts.
spirituality.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
I was like holding on to the view of this is the only this the isness is all there is,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's a very subtle view, right? So right now I'm just like using all these vehicles, sort of like a mode or like almost like no different than putting on a mitsu, right?
Yeah.
Right. But now you're putting on a vehicle that you can ride around with.
Yeah.
But then you can drive many different vehicles simultaneously, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Vajrayana is just kind of like one of those vehicles where you can kind of like that's a vehicle where it encapsulates all the other vehicles, including the Theravada vehicle, including the Mahayana
Yeah.
vehicle, including the artist vehicle, including the CEO vehicle, whatever, the
Mm,
human,
mm.
the non-human vehicle, the deity vehicle. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you get open to like more esoteric vehicles, but you also realize that the esoteric
that's
vehicles
also
in
empty too. You
themselves
have to
are
realize that's empty as well.
yeah,
No
exactly.
different.
Exactly. But it's just another
This gives
vehicle.
you more flexibility to shapeshift. And
Mm,
then I also have experiences where um, I map my aggregation onto another person and then is
mm,
able to feel what they feel and then
right.
even thoughts to a certain degree. Right. And I had an experience where I was talking to uh, one of my client who had some weed, right,
Mm.
on a Skype. And I could actually feel like I was high. Like
Oh,
literally, I
really?
felt like I was high. Like I thought I smoked weed.
Well,
And that never happened to me before. That's because my mind was closed off to the idea that
yeah.
this was. Once I
Mm,
started to take my own aggregation and it's kind of like reshape my aggregation to embody or map onto other people, then you can have the flexibility from the view of impartiality to take on the partiality of
mm.
not just yourself as an individual expressive human being, but other people as well,
Yeah,
other
yeah, yeah.
sentient. So that's where a lot of cities come from, actually, a lot of more esoteric shit, like mind reading. It's not so esoteric anymore.
Mm.
It once you view it like that, right? Yeah, it's just a different reconfiguration of the geometry of your being, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever spoken with Matt Garrett? Do you know him?
Matt Garrett, no, I know who he is, but I never
Okay.
talked to him. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, he also talks like we had a conversation a while back, and he was very interested in like yeah the non-emptiness side of things. That like kind of like I was saying, there's the trap of that those fields becoming a view
Yeah.
within themselves. But it was I felt like a good point that he was making that many just focus on the emptiness, and then all this other stuff that he was kind of talking about, like the cities and uh, playing with kind of reality
Stuff like meditation. Yeah, yeah.
manifestation, that kind of stuff. Yeah, astral travel. Um, it was interesting and it opened my mind. I was like, oh yeah. And then once my mind was open, some of the things you start to experience it more actually. But then um,
But first, you have to deconstruct reality,
yeah,
and then put it back together. Like that's what meditation is, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
putting the form back to the emptiness, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then if you don't deconstruct reality to, the most fundamental mental level of how nothing has intrinsic existence, it's very easy. It's not even efficient to manifest reality if you don't completely deconstruct it first, right? Because emptiness means infinite potentiality.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Actually, it makes way more sense once you deconstruct it. It's,
It's filtered through the lens of the self. It's always going to be obscure
yeah,
through the lens of the self view, so to speak. Yeah.
yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, what has been your experience with the energetic shifting since Anatta and like as it's gone on? Because it's been interesting. Like you can see it very clearly in your expression. Like if I look back to like Frank like three
Yeah,
years
yeah. I
ago,
was
you were like
undergoing a
very
lot of huge, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
huge energy shifts. Release. I would say they're more like releases. Yeah, like the
Mm,
first couple of years. Yeah, but right now I don't. Right now I'm just the energy. I guess I sometimes I call this just experiencing the energy of the universe, or it's just
mm,
energy expressing itself. So it's not been filtered as much through obscuration or solidity. So there's
mm,
no more contraction. Yeah, yeah. But then there's also expansion and contraction, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like expansion and contraction because there's no reference point to the expansion or the contraction.
right,
It's just the
right.
contraction of life itself. It's almost like, yeah, well, also once you step out of the linear time, space and cause and effect, um, the expansion and contraction happens simultaneously. The rising and the passing happens simultaneously. That's why you have to understand the insight into dependent origination, how like the contraction and expansion, they codependent rise, right? But at the same
Mm,
time, something codependent rise, they also cancel each other out. That's how paradoxically they're able to manifest. Yeah.
mm,
And then if expansion and contraction happen simultaneously, then you receive the insight that nothing is really arising or passing. That's the sort of like the non-arising, non-abiding, non-ceasing insight, the unborn, the deathless.
yeah.
So that's pretty much my experience all the time.
Mm,
Most of the time, yeah, yeah, yeah. So energy-wise, like I can still like the practices that we're doing right now has allowed me to revisit jhanas, but
okay.
it's jhanas coming from a very different perspective, I think.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Not like a sense of a subject or a meditator merging with the object of meditation anymore. It's more like it's just
Mm,
the field, reconfiguring and so on. Yeah, so
yeah,
I
yeah.
started. Then I also went through a phase where I just completely discard jhanas. I'm like, yeah, no, you're not supposed to. You can't jhana anymore. But actually, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
like I said, from a very different
d
perspective.
does it happen
It's
like
still
naturally or
it
like is the
happens.
intention?
It happens when I do my sits during the boot camp when I'm
Mm,
receiving transmission from our coach and from other people in the group.
mm,
Mostly, yeah.
mm, okay. I'm curious, what's your experience with sleep? And is there anything
Oh,
like in sleep
yeah, yeah.
and the sleep state? What's your experience like there?
The sleep state.
Do you
Well,
experience anything?
sometimes I think it's pretty normal. Sometimes I have experiences like astral projections or lucid dreaming, but I don't really train for those things. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I can develop more of the capacity just by like the stuff that we're doing. But sleep is being pretty normal. Yeah, sometimes I'm aware when I'm not having a dreamless sleep.
Mm,
When I'm having sleep, sometimes I'm not aware. Sometimes I just fall into a dreamless sleep. But I'll say the amount of time that I sleep is much shorter now compared to before. Well, actually, like for like 2 or 3 years, uh, the first couple of years after Nata, where I was still releasing a lot of energies, I was sleeping like 4 hours a night.
yeah, I
But then
remember seeing you say that. So I was curious, has that
now it's
changed?
more like 5 or 6.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Now it's a little bit more grounded, yeah. But I still don't really need a lot of sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah, but even if I don't get a lot of sleep, the next morning I wake up very refreshed.
yeah.
Very, I really feel tired. Even if I'm tired, it's not like me that's tired. It's like,
Mm,
oh, the meat's tired, but then
mm,
what you are just it's not tired, and neither is it hyper.
mm, mm.
For both, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. What's your um what's your experience with training now? Are you like with all your traveling? I
Fitness?
saw yeah, fitness. Yeah, yeah, like in the
Okay.
gym.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, I pretty much let go of the whole fitness program, but I still work out. So
Yeah.
when I'm traveling
Can
now,
relate.
I don't even go to, I don't count macros. I just eat like shit. No,
Yeah,
I don't eat
yeah.
like shit. I eat whatever. That's what I mean by eating like shit. I just eat whatever. Sometimes I eat like shit. I don't count macros anymore. I don't care if I don't go to the gym. Like before, if I go on a vacation, first thing I do is I have to find a gym, and I can't
Mm,
eat
mm,
anything unless I still have to like count my macros and things like that. So now, if I'm at home right now in Maryland, where I'm just pretty chill most of the time, I have a pretty structured routine actually. I work out 3 times a week, and I work a lot. Yeah, so now I go to the gym 3 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week. But if I'm traveling, I don't work out at all. And it's not a
mm.
problem. No.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's another thing. Another thing that we try to emphasize in our boot camp is taking on a project, like take like master something. You know, what are you gonna do
Mm,
with it? Not you're gonna sit
mm.
at home.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
gonna sit at home. How don't you go in the monastery, right? Just take on a project. So one of the members on our cohort does like fitness training as a profession, but he does like some energy stuff with it. Like I don't really know, but he has his own system, right?
yeah.
So that's his project, right? That's why he wants to master. And for me, it's like making videos.
Mm,
That's my project. And then the co-founder of our group, that his project is getting another degree, so he's going back to school
right,
to
right.
get program I don't know in what yet, but that's another thing. That's another limitation. It's like, oh,
Mm,
you're not supposed to do the world after
yeah,
Anatta.
yeah.
Right.
I can really relate to that. Yeah. I felt that
There could
like
be a phase where you just sit at home, sure, for two YouTubers,
yeah. But
but
then
then
for
if you verify that, then what are you gonna do, right? And
yeah,
that's why
yeah.
people become really discontent
Yeah, exactly. I felt that in my own experience where I
and
was like,
are productive. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, was like okay with just being at home, letting the process unfold. But then it was this feeling of discontent. And I love what you said
yeah,
about taking up a project because that's exactly what it felt. It was like, okay, cool, but this body mind needs something to work on in this
yeah,
in
yeah.
this
You need something
expression.
to
Yeah.
manifest the emptiness, right?
Yeah.
It's enlightenment through activities, so to speak. Not
Mm,
just not just like realization in the void. It's a realization that's found in activities, right? And
yeah.
that's what Tantra is about.
Mm,
That's the entire path of Tantra, really. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, yeah. And also after Anatta, it's like when you can really truly take on projects without having
yeah.
expectation, goals that you verify. Uh, so actually, even fitness, like I talked about this before, but like my physical conditioning or even my mental capacity has increased because the brain like wastes so much energy trying to sustain the separate self, trying to sustain the subject object split. It doesn't have a lot of energy to do anything else. So
Mm,
right now, I can work out 12 hours a day without feeling tired. I can go to the gym way longer than before with even less expectation. Like, yeah, it's just great because now you can kind of have like you can have your cake, eat it too, kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, there's way the energy
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
kind of be used way more efficiently. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
not yeah,
Yeah.
all this wasted energy. Yeah. Yeah, do you know Michael Singer at all?
I've heard the name.
I like he's a good like on this point that we're talking about like the efficiency of working on a project. Like I read one of his books and he kind of he had all his shifts and then kind of through that he created this like big tech company that he was super successful in. I think that's like a great example of um
Oh, cool.
an
Yeah.
efficient kind of yeah expression of a project alongside the awakening path. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So what are your do you have any traveling plans
Oh,
coming up?
I'll probably take a break for a while, but who knows? Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have anything
Uh,
planned.
I'm still like I have so much footage from my last trip. Like it's gonna take me like a year to like release them all. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
think I'm going through, okay. I think I'm going through a sort of like a very brief, maybe it'll be long. Who knows? Like at least right now, it feels like a period of renunciation. Actually, yeah.
mm,
So that's the thing. It's like just because you're not following the renunciation path, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be particular phases of your path. Even if your path is
mm,
not about renunciation, it's the Vajrayana path. There's still like certain phases of your path where it's more beneficial to
yeah.
your the refinement of your realization to renunciate a bit. So I'm just kind of staying home. I'm actually pretty living a life of a solitude, realize it right
Oh
now.
yeah.
Sense, yeah, but I don't identify myself as one. But right now, I just feel like this is what I need to do right now. I just just do my own thing and
Yeah.
just be alone, and then work on my videos, do my coaching calls, and just like continue to refine my realization and so on. But
Mm,
I'm
mm,
still doing podcasts, still doing a lot. It's just like I'm not really interacting with people, not thinking about traveling right now. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I get
I see
that.
that's
Like,
it's funny because like retreats or even renunciation from the perspective of like Tantra or whatever, it's actually quite different than if it's coming from the perspective of Theravada. Because for them,
mm,
that's sort of like the end, right? This is the means to an end. Like I'm renouncing right now, or I'm like, staying home right now, just doing things on my own right now in order to be more efficient
yeah.
when you know take the opposite route of like, going out there and interacting with the world and so on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that also like after intense periods of travel, it often feels like that kind of switching
Right? Yeah.
up is necessary. Yeah. It's funny, we had kind of similar travel paths recently. I was also in where were you? Amsterdam, then Berlin, then London.
Oh, really?
So
Nice.
yeah,
Oh, that's cool. When was
like in
that?
the same order.
When was that?
When was
When was
it?
it?
Oh,
Yeah.
how was it? Yeah, yeah, it was really good, man.
When
I
was it? When was
Oh,
it?
when was it? It was literally just before you went. Like I got back to
Oh,
South
wow.
Africa.
That's cool.
Yeah, when did you go? Because I got back in
When
like
July, I
September.
think end of July. No, August to October. No, August to October, and then I spent the next 2 months in Panama.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I was always just ahead of you. Like when I was in Berlin, I think you were in Amsterdam and then I was in London and then you were in Berlin and,
Oh, that's awesome,
and
bro.
then you were
That's
in
pretty
London.
cool. Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, oh damn, if only I'd like hung around a bit longer, we could have met up.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
How long were you there for? How long were you traveling for across Europe?
Like 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
similar trajectory. Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why I think another thing is like you gotta find ways to keep the fire burning, so to speak, because
yeah.
like people can verify stillness or like peace,
Mm.
right? So that's why I travel so much. It's kind of like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
trying to keep
exactly.
yeah, not just to
Yeah,
purify more conditioning, but just to
yeah,
manifest,
yeah,
to
like a
continue
mix
to
of things.
manifest. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can relate as well. And for me, it has been like that mixed with kind of relationship has been a great
Relationship as
way
well.
to burst things up. Where it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay,
to create some sparkles. Yeah, yeah. To create some
exactly.
sparks within the emptiness.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, for me recently, there was some like big sparks with
Yeah, 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 yeah. Has some
relationship
pretty
stuff.
big parts lately. Yeah, with relationships.
Yeah, nice. Well, yeah, you should let me know if you ever come to Cape Town. It would be a good spot to film. There's like a lot of cool culture and stuff here as well. Yeah.
Yeah, now I have one more friend from South Africa, and if I ever visit, I'll definitely hit you up.
Yeah, exactly. Put it on the list.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for the invite. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
awesome,
what.
man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, cool. Well, let's see. Maybe we bump into each other somewhere.
yeah. We'll see each other. We'll see each other somewhere, or maybe in the our emanation bodies could be.
Yeah, actually.
Actually, that's what's happening right now, kind of, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Speaking about that, I look at my YouTube character. It's kind of like an emanation body, actually.
Mm.
Kind of flies around the atmosphere across space and time
Yeah,
to
it's a good point.
certain goals.
I like it. Look, actually, I just came to mind. I wanted to ask you about reincarnation as well. What has your experience been with reincarnation and past lives?
I had some visions about reincarnation prior to awakening, but I haven't had them since
Okay.
Anatta. Yeah.
It's okay. So it hasn't really been a thing since.
It's not a thing, but then like actually one of the members in our book camp is like really into reincarnation, so he will
Oh
like
yeah.
access his past lives in order to clean up the karmas in the present moment. So
Mm,
that's one tool that you can use.
mm,
To access your previous life and examine the trajectory of your entire being, not just in this lifetime, but previous lifetimes, in order
yeah.
to further bring karma right now, which affects the present and the past, like I said, and the
Mm,
present. So that's one way to go about it. Sure, yeah, I'm not against that
yeah.
idea. Haven't gotten around to that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I really relate. Like it seems like the best way like to use it is to kind of bring up
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
karma.
yeah.
Yeah. I recently did a past life regression with a therapist because I was
Oh,
curious. Like
cool.
I spoke to a couple of people. It was an interesting experience. A lot of it felt like just story, where it was just like, okay, what are you experiencing here, there? But I think energetically it was kind of like getting in touch with things that were inside there,
Yeah, exactly. That's what I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah. It's kind of
Yeah.
like shadow work across universes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I feel
because
like
if you
it's
look at even a lot of shadow work stuff that they ask you to like bring out your inner child or like hold your inner
yeah,
child. That will heal your current emanation in the physical
yeah,
body.
exactly. Yeah, that's I feel like it's just another way of framing shadow work as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I don't know if you know Ryan. Do you know Ryan Burton?
No.
you'd get along with him. Angelo interviewed him recently, and I had a very interesting conversation with him because he kind of what was his? He said his lineage was uh Dharmakaya. I don't know if you know that one.
Kaya?
Yeah,
I kind of
I think
one of the
yeah, one of the Theravadan paths because he was from Thailand, um, and he was speaking about like some interesting post-Anatta uh like experiences where like he had this very vivid experience of like all his different past lives, and he had a lot of vivid experiences. Like talking to him was really interesting because he was like explaining all of this kind of stuff. Yeah,
very cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm actually the video that I'm editing right now, the part that I'm editing actually is talking about this.
Oh, really?
It's talking about, fixing your karmas by, going back in time, not just your lifetime, but possibly like previous lifetimes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Looking forward to that. When's it coming out?
Hopefully in 2 weeks, it's gonna be a long one.
Mm. Do you are you like constantly editing? Like if you're done with one, are you working on the next one?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I don't do a lot of the editing myself. I'm more of the one that just talk behind the camera guys.
You have like an editing person? You have a guy that edits? You
Oh, what's that?
have a guy that edits for you? Yeah.
I edit, but it's not the kind of the intensity of your editing.
Oh, okay.
It's just like cutting out dead space.
Most of your content is like a podcast format, right?
It's a
Your video
mix. It's
content.
like podcast format and like pointers. A lot of it is around like shadow work and healing because a lot of my audience is like people that are suffering with like a lot of the physical that stuff manifesting as physical illness. So like chronic illness, chronic pain, kind of like what we're saying about adyashanti, almost like the trauma like really affecting you physically. Um,
Right.
so that seems to be the niche that resonates with people currently.
Yeah, a lot of people like to delve into that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like family system, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's unavoidable. It's just like so physical in your face. You've got like no choice but to
Yeah, yeah,
deal
you have
with
no
it.
choice. Yeah, you also have to not that you have no place to hide.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, what has been your experience with like debilitating physical symptoms as a result of the awakening process? I've heard you speak about in one of your videos that you, like during a Kundalini period or whatever, you were like kind of stuck in bed. Or
Yeah, I was stuck in bed for like 2 or 3 weeks or something at a time for like
yeah.
multiple times. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you just like couldn't what just too much energy, like the
And
nervous
just too
system
much.
was too sensitive.
The dark night was too much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that doesn't really happen anymore. I mean, the like the 2 week like in bed thing now doesn't happen anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, I always like yours that is a good example because a lot of people like see the illness as like a purely physical thing, but I'd like to share yours as like an example of how that can happen as part of the awakening path as well, you
Part of
know?
the recruiting process. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
exactly.
It's an upgrade of your entire nervous system. So
Yeah, yeah. A
yeah,
lot of shit needs to move through the system.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right, nice man. I think we've
Yeah, we
covered
got a lot of cool stuff covered.
covered a lot of it there. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share? Or
Good. Yeah, yeah. I think that
yeah,
was a pretty efficient one.
yeah,
Short and sweet.
cool.